So, are you guys okay?
Solid. I got a little kink in my neck from the crawl space, maybe just a quick massage.
No, we're fine. We're actually just fine. You might want to check on Eric though. Yeah. Hey, you all right?
We're on Bravo, and is she live?
Huh? Are we on?
Muted, and then just let me know when we start the recording as soon as we're ready to call this. We're unmuted now.
Hey, you here?
I'm here.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are all of you?
Hey,
Okay.
Well, I miss you guys. Hang in there.
We're here.
I don't think that's in the cards for either one of us, Owen.
What the hell happened?
Well, let's see. You were poisoned and crushed your bone.
What's an MTT position?
Maintenance technology. Or maintenance.
Policy car are we? I don't know what MTT is. Who's been here?
Okay, good evening. I would like to call this meeting to order. October 26, 2020. Take a roll call. Green here. Schulte is absent with notice. Ms. Walsh.
Walsh present.
Zanetti.
Zanetti present.
Mr. Barkey.
Barkey present?
Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Fitzpatrick present.
Mr. Hiller.
Hiller present.
We've established a quorum. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
Republic for which one nation.
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 3 is agenda approval. Ms. Denowith?
I have no changes.
So moved, Zanetti.
Motion by Zanetti,
Support by Fitzpatrick.
support by Mr. Fitzpatrick. Mr. Zanetti?
Zanetti, yes.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Fitzpatrick, yes.
Ms. Walsh?
Walsh, yes.
Markey?
Barkey, yes.
Mr. Hiller?
Hiller, yes.
Green, yes, and motion carries. Item 4 is the minutes from the October 12th meeting. Everyone's has a copy in their package.
Motion to accept the minutes from October 12th, Fitzpatrick.
Support by Hiller. Motion by Fitzpatrick, support by Hiller. Any questions? Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Fitzpatrick, yes.
Mr. Hiller?
Hiller, yes.
Ms. Walsh?
Walsh, yes.
Zanetti?
Zanetti, yes.
Markey?
Barkey, yes.
Green, yes, the motion carries.
Excuse me, Mr. Green. Did
Go ahead.
Mark have to defer because he was not present at the meeting?
Yes.
You were absent. Notice last meeting.
I was absent, notice.
Okay, so Mr.
Yeah.
Barkey, thank you.
Scratch me.
Mr. Zanetti, Barkey will be excluded from that roll call vote.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Item 5 is correspondence. Ms. Denowith.
Yes, you have one correspondence in your package that we received on 10/12 from a parent.
Everyone has a copy of that and is able to review it. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to accept the correspondence as presented by Zanetti.
Motion received and filed by Zanetti,
Fitzpatrick, support.
support by Mr. Fitzpatrick. Are there any comments?
Okay.
Mr. Zanetti,
Zanetti, yes.
Mr. Fitzpatrick,
Fitzpatrick, yes.
Ms. Walsh,
Walsh, yes.
Markey,
Barkey, yes.
Mr. Hiller.
Hiller, yes.
Green, yes, the motion carries. Item 6 is treasurer's report. Mr. Cassidy.
Yes, now that we have the audit report filed, we're going to get caught up quickly here on treasurer's reports for the 2021 fiscal year. You should have 2 separate treasurer's reports in your packet. The first one we'll take a look at is the combined July and August treasurer's report. Taking a look at the general fund, you can see where we started to have our local revenue come in, $871,605 in local revenue between July and August combined. The bulk of that, $860,000 of that, is made up of our local tax revenue coming in from the city of Warren. In addition to that, there's about $3,000 in interest earnings, as well as $7,600 in adult ed tuition, which really is mainly from driver's ed courses that were able to take place during the months of July and August. The state revenue of $82,457, that is just some of our grant revenue that we didn't get to spend in the 1920 fiscal year that we have now moved over and have showing up at the 2021 fiscal year. And then the federal revenue of $1,174,767, that is our COVID relief fund. So that's 2 separate pots of money that came in from the feds. First, we knew about back at the end of June, it was like $12.30 per pupil that came through, and it was identified as state COVID relief funds. That amounts to just over $39,900. Then the other $1.13 million was the second big pot of coronavirus relief funding that came through from the federal government as well, that we received in August to help offset all the additional costs that we were incurring due to the pandemic. And then in the incoming transfers, $177,864 worth of revenue in July and August. $124,000 of that is from the regional enhancement millage. And then the other $54,000 is a rebate or refund from our insurance carrier because we are part of a pool. So in years where there is excess funds left in the insurance pool, we do receive a refund back or a rebate back. So our portion of that excess funds in the insurance pool this year was $54,000 that we received back from them. So we have total revenue of $2.3 million between July and August combined, and disbursements of $1.43 million. And then at the bottom, those would obviously be our year-to-date totals as well. In the food service fund, there's only $201 in local revenue, which is really just whatever earnings we can get on the fund balance for the food service fund, but interest rates are pretty much nothing now. And some rebate revenue, And then the $141,310 of federal revenue is all of our federal reimbursement for the summer feeding program that we had ran, or the unanticipated closure which ran. So those funds coming in total $141,310 in July and August. And we were, for most of July and August, we were still running all of our food service operations out of one site, running everything out of the middle school where all families would come and pick up food. So we still had disbursements of $87,196, and those as well will be the year-to-date totals. And then for the ISD Centers Program Fund, we actually have a negative $5,000 in revenue right now. That's a discrepancy between what the ISD had sent us on their schedules for final payments for 1920 and what we had actually received in August. So we are working out that discrepancy with the ISD right now. I'm sure we will get that situated fairly quickly here. But you know, if you were to compare these to previous years, obviously things look a lot different, particularly in the general fund and the food service fund, where operations are completely different than they normally would be. We would have way less revenue typically in July and August in the general fund if we weren't being supplemented with the almost $1.2 million in federal revenue. It would certainly change the way these numbers look. And then oftentimes our food service revenue for July and August is usually much lower than that. You know, even when we do run a summer feeding program, we don't have nearly the amount of people coming that we had during this past summer. So in comparison, July and August 2019 food service revenue totaled $27,618, and it's $141,000 this year. So just thinking about in terms of the size of how big that program was for the summer. And then we have the September 2020 Treasurer's Report, which continuing on, now is where we see the real collection of our local taxes begin to kick in. So $1.195 million in local revenue from the general fund. In total, $1.18 million of that is actually local tax collection coming in from the city of Warren. And we had another $5,000 in athletic gate receipts, $5,000 from adult ed, and about $1,000 in investment earnings. The $14,567 in state revenue is just our Section 41 bilingual grant. That's the 1920 funds that we didn't spend. We moved into this fiscal year as we had expenses that we incurred throughout the summer to pay for that. And then the federal revenue of $10,683 is some of our Title I carryover funds that we did not spend last year that we're moving into this year, and are now spending them on programs to support our kids. And then the incoming transfer line in the general fund of $238,559 is a payment from the MISD for the regional enhancement millage. So total revenue for the month of September, $1,458,676, with expenses of $2,808,623. So a lot of those expenses that you see kicking in September are a lot of those COVID-related expenses. There's a lot of laptops, there's a lot of PPE equipment, there's a lot of things that we had purchased that now the expenses are kicking in, although the revenue all came through in July and August. But here's where all of the expenses that we were using all that for are now kicking in. So you can see for the month of September by itself, we deficit spent by about $1.35 million within that month. But if you look at the totals at the bottom, year to date through the end of September, we're at about $3.765 million in revenue and $4.24 million in expenses. Looking at the food service fund, again, very little in terms of local sales. I mean, school is up and running, but the only local sales we're going to have at this point would be if a student went through and received their free lunch, because it's free for everybody right now, but decided they wanted to go up to like the a la carte line and buy something that wasn't part of the meal. So there's going to be a few sales that come through, local sales, or if they went back up for the second meal, something like that's the only real revenue we're going to see come in from a local sales perspective. And then our federal reimbursement of $45,678 is also truly now looking at September and looking at the meals that we are being reimbursed based on the meals that we are serving. And this is in large part based on the kids who are actually in the buildings, which we know is in some cases less than half of what we would normally have in the buildings. And then we still have available for pickup every day here for any of our kids that are attending virtually. They can still come here between 11 and 1 every day and go to the parking lot over here, and we're still distributing meals over there. but it's definitely not the other half of our kids that are coming to pick up meals right now. So that's where I think we're going to see a pretty large dip in terms of food service revenue. Because we still have expenses of $109,820 for the month of September in the food service fund. And year-to-date totals, $187,413 in revenue and $97,016 in expenses through the end of September. And then with the ISD Centers program, there is no revenue for the month of September, but we did have an additional $282,437 in expenses, which is fairly normal for September to look like that for these funds. Any questions on either of those?
Did you take a vote first to accept that questions or?
Is this an action item?
It's just a
Just a report?
Yeah.
Okay, so, yeah, go ahead.
So on the ISD program for September, the 282, so is that all of our, basically our staff that supports the programs and in the disbursements? And how big is that program now versus what we've had traditionally?
The program has definitely reduced, just in general in size. If it wasn't a pandemic, even the size of the program has shrunk down. I looked up, so for last year, in the month of September last year, we had about $317,000 in expenses. So it's down to $282,000, which reflects we have fewer staff for this year. We did reduce the number of staff that are in the ISD Centers program because we have fewer kids that are in the program now.
In our programs that we support,
Yep.
per se, right? Like
Yep.
for the county, so we got a lower, okay.
Correct.
And then we get paid like, when is the next payment?
Yeah, typically for the centers program, what we will get paid after the ISD receives its first state aid payment, which would have just come October 20th.
Oh, okay.
So sometimes we get it right at the end of October, sometimes we get it in November. So I would assume we start seeing the first set of revenue for that coming in here any day now.
Okay. That makes sense.
That was,
Thank you, Dan.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
anyone else? Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Next item is payment of bills.
Yes, Mr. President, Walsh would like to make a motion that we pay the 2018 bond in the amount of $192,388.71.
Motion by Walsh. Support by Hiller. Support by Hiller. Any questions?
The first line item, Neil, the surety bond, is that just the final payment to the NAS surety for like closing out the bond? Is what we balance we owe them?
Well, that's actually,
this?
unfortunately, we had a contractor that had some financial problems as we were going through the 2017 bond work. And this is the surety company that backs their bonds. So when they were unable to meet all of their commitments, we go to the surety company who makes sure that their commitments get done by either providing other contractors or whatnot to get done. So this is actually us paying the surety company for the balance that would be due on a contractor that couldn't fulfill their commitment to the project.
Okay, so we pay them and then they basically
Yeah,
pay
and
those
then-
vendors that they had to bring in to finish the work.
Yeah.
Got it. 'Cause I don't think we've ever seen that before. I don't remember this.
They pay the subcontractors?
Yeah, they will have brought in contractors to complete the work, and then they will handle all the disbursements from there. It takes the actual contractor, we had the original contract with completely out of it, and
Good point. Paul.
Gets it done this way.
I've never seen that.
Yeah, I've not seen that since all the bonds that we've been doing, so it's interesting. Thank you for explaining though.
you're welcome.
Anyone else? Ms. Walsh.
Walsh, yes.
Hiller.
Hiller, yes.
Mr. Zanetti.
Zanetti, yes.
Markey.
Markey, yes.
Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Fitzpatrick, yes.
Green, yes. The motion carries. Item 8 is old business. There is none. Item 9 is new business. Our student representatives, Ms. Denver.
Yes, we have our student rep, Ms. Kara Sanders with us this evening. So Kara, how's it going?
Good. How are you guys?
Okay.
Good.
So really, there's not a lot of stuff going on at Tower, but this past Friday, homecoming court was able to walk out on the field with their escorts. And then this week, PSAT and SAT testing begins for seniors, sophomores, and the freshmen. And then I'm really excited to share this because it's super cool. Campus Corner is still closed as of right now, and Miss G wanted to find a way to still sell things. So as of Friday, Campus Corner's online store is open for 2 weeks, and the store consists of hoodies, sweatshirts, long sleeves, quarter zips, and t-shirts. And you can have the option of getting it delivered to the school or to your house. And Campus Corner posted the link on Twitter if you would like to purchase something. And I'm pretty sure I could find a way to email it to any of you guys to purchase anything from the school store.
Awesome.
You guys have any questions about like how school's going at Tower or anything?
Well, can you tell us?
It's going pretty well, honestly, but it's still like scary, like when there's like a new case of COVID come up at school, because obviously like scary, but it's going pretty well. I feel like a lot of kids are following the safety precautions. A lot of kids are scared of Mr. Fedlin, so when he comes on the PA at lunch to sit 6 feet apart, they sit 6 feet apart and they follow. But basically it's pretty much it. I feel like it's going pretty decent as of right now.
When did they announce homecoming queen and king?
Oh, at the football game on Friday.
All right, thank you, Kira.
Thanks.
Appreciate it, as always.
You're welcome.
Stay safe out
Thank
there.
you, Kara.
Next item is our extended COVID-19 pandemic learning plan report. Ms. Hammond.
Yes, I'm going to start by just reminding everyone that this meeting is being streamed live to YouTube, and the direct stream causes a bit of a 15 to 20 second delay. If you plan to speak at public expression, please call the number that is on your agenda now and listen to the meeting from your phones to avoid that delay. Upon admittance to the meeting, you will be muted, and when it is your turn to speak, we will unmute you and call on you by the last 4 digits of your phone number. So if you look on your agenda, that number is 646-558-8656, and the meeting ID is 879-0747-2290, and the passcode is 594350. So just a reminder to do that. I am going to share my screen here with our just a quick PowerPoint and a reminder that this is a recommitment to our extended COVID learning plan for the 1920 school year, or for the 2021 school year. I would like to go back. I'm sure there's others of you that would like to go back as well. But with Section 98A, when we developed our extended COVID learning plan, we have to have a reconfirmation every 30 days. So our first plan was back in September. So now we are reconfirming this plan as we move forward. What the law says is that we have to do this for this month, and then every month thereafter. We have to reconfirm how instruction is going to be delivered for each of the levels. We have to provide an opportunity to seek public comment. So that's why you'll see the public expression moved up on our agenda, because we're going to go over this plan and then listen to some public expression, and then we will vote on the actual recommitment down in the new business section. In addition to the plan itself, we have to review the weekly two-way interaction rates, and we have to announce those every 30 days. So that we will be doing this at probably every special meeting here moving forward. So for the recommended changes, we aren't recommending any changes at the preschool, the K-5 or 9-12. We have a slight change that we're recommending at the middle school to the Wednesday schedule. We are asking to change that all Wednesdays at the middle school become an early release. That affects 13 Wednesdays moving forward for this entire school year, because our other Wednesdays are already early releases, or they perhaps fall into a break. So this is just 13 Wednesdays from now moving forward. And what we're asking for this time for is so that the middle school teachers who teach both in person and virtual, when we revised the schedule, originally we had teachers with either a solely virtual or a solely in-person teacher. But in order to accommodate social distancing and move things around, we now have teachers that may teach second hour in person, but third hour is virtual. and then fourth hour maybe in person, fifth hour in person. So it doesn't give a lot of time for teachers to reach out to those individual virtual students since they have a class right the next hour. Some of our teachers, say at the elementary, have an opportunity to change some of their schedules during the day to meet the needs of those kids, but at the middle school we can't because the next hour those teachers might have a class full of kids coming in. So we're asking for this times to allow teachers to reach out to those virtual students and provide some extra support as necessary. Moving forward for our next steps, we currently have surveys out for staff and for parents. And what we're going to do with those results, we're going to provide them to our committees. We have a safety committee, operations, instruction, and a social emotional. We'll provide the survey results to those 4 committees and use them in their planning to see if we need to modify or tweak anything as we move forward. So once those surveys close, which will be next Monday, we'll be able to provide that information to those committees, and we'll keep tweaking the plans as we see fit. If parents didn't get the email about the survey, you can find it right on our website that's listed there. It's right on the homepage under latest news. Any questions about the request for the middle school?
No, I think that's good, Stacy. Thanks for providing an update on the middle school. I know there were some questions around how we were going to manage the schedules and allow the time for the teachers. So it looks like we've been able to accommodate that. So appreciate the effort.
Yep. That's it for number 2. If there's no other questions, I'll move on to number 3.
I don't see any. Please do.
Okay. And so the next, what you'll see on your screen are our weekly two-way interaction rates. And just as an explanation, what we have to do each week while we have students in a pandemic learning situation, we have to have 2 contacts or interactions with each student each week. And now that interaction might be, they might see the kids live on a Teams meeting. They may receive two-way emails, meaning the teacher might send out an assignment, the student replies with an email, and then the teacher replies back with some feedback. There has to be the closing of the loop by the teacher to create the 2-week interaction. It could be a phone call, it could be a remind message. There's a variety of different ways that they've put in the legislation for us to get this completed. But these are our rates. So you'll see for the 4-week period, so the 30 days, we've broken it down by all 4 weeks for each building. And then you'll see on the end, the district total. So I know that our staff has been working extremely hard to make sure that these happen. This is an extremely difficult thing to do, especially when you're managing everything else that you are in your classroom. So I greatly appreciate the efforts that have gone into making sure that we are reaching such a high number of students on a daily or on a weekly basis. The requirement is 75%. So obviously we are exceeding that. So I appreciate everything that our staff is doing to reach out. We currently are having every staff member, regardless, let's say at the high school, when you have 6 classes, we're asking all teachers, all hours to reach out if they don't hear from a kid. So I appreciate the efforts that they're making to make sure that we're getting those emails or seeing those kids' faces on their Teams meetings, collecting assignments and providing feedback. Any questions about the 2-way interactions?
Any questions from the board?
No questions.
Okay, seeing none. Those are both reports. We'll move to public expression, Ms. Devlin.
Yes, just as a reminder, if you are interested in calling in for public expression, the number is 646-558-8656. The meeting ID is 879-0747-2290, and the passcode is 594350. While we're waiting, Mr. Green, I don't know if there's any board members that have public expression.
This is Mr. Zanetti. I do have 2 questions or maybe comments. So you sent us the report on our student count numbers in the newsletter. Unfortunately, they weren't as actually weren't that very good, right, for our district, so we all understand that. So when can we get the report that says where did the students end up, and then what's the impact to our bottom line when that happens? So we expect that at the board meeting sometime in November, or do we have to wait a little bit to get that information?
Neil, do you mind addressing that?
Sure. I think normally by the time we get all of the final counts, it's usually end of November, beginning of December before their final. We can start to probably break down some preliminary numbers. I know just in looking at the numbers that we had initially submitted to us, the very first version of the numbers, without going back and trying to make up for additional students. I think our overall September over September number was down almost 71. But from a funding standpoint this year, the state has sort of anticipated this happening in a lot of districts, and I know a lot of districts are down quite a bit. So we have what's called the super blend, where we're now taking basically 75% of last year's blended number and 25% of this year's blended number to actually reflect what we'll get paid for this year. So we could probably at least get the second round. I think the initial submission to the state is next week, I believe. So we could probably get an initial fairly decent updated set of numbers for the next meeting, or worst case, the second meeting in November, and kind of walk through. I don't know if we'll know where they went, but we'll at least be able to have a better understanding of where we're at and what the impact potentially could be for us for one of those meetings.
Because we'll know if they went to another public school, like within the state or within the county, but when they go to parochial schools like a Catholic school or Lutheran school, do we see those numbers too?
I don't know if there's a way for us to see those. I don't know if they show up in the, whatever that code is, UIC code that each kid is issued the first time they show up in a school. I know
Usually it's when they ask for the CA60. So when they send for the record, we can keep track of where we sent the CA60.
I know, I mean, just based on things I've heard in the public, a lot of parents pulled their kids out of public schools because of the virtual learning, wanted them to be in person and the Catholic, Lutheran, and other schools, and the numbers have gone way up in those school districts, in those environments where there's a wait list. So I imagine some of our kids have moved on. I imagine that happened in the rest of the county and in the state, because parents wanted their kids back in the classrooms, and this is the repercussions of that possibly. Right, so just interesting. So it'd be nice to see what the reports are out of there. So, and then just the other one, as we're talking about, a lot of the stuff in the public news about expanding the number of teachers in the districts to, maybe reduce class sizes and absorb that pool of teachers. What's the number on those pool of teachers? Are we talking like 1,000 extra teachers just sitting out there in the state of Michigan looking for jobs right now? I'm just asking the question because everybody makes it seem like there's just this plethora of teachers available that we can just go out and hire another 50 teachers and bring them in and not have an issue. We can barely get subs to walk in. So I'm trying to understand where that disconnect is. I guess it's just trying to understand, right? I mean, we keep saying let's get more teachers. We can barely get enough teachers to sub in the county. So if every district wanted to go hire another 25 teachers full time, I don't think it's there. So I think we got to kind of figure out that equation before we can comment on what we can and can't do. There's just not a pool. So it's more of a comment than it is a question. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Green, there is no one waiting for public expression. So if there's no one else on the board, then we would be finished with that, number 10.
Item 11 is new business. I'm sorry. Oh, I thought it was there. Item 11 is new business. It's an action item. It's reconfirmation of the COVID-19 pandemic learning plan report that was just reported by Ms. Denver. So I entertain a motion.
I make a motion, Barkey.
Motion
We accept it.
by Barkey to accept the COVID-19 pandemic learning plan report, extended COVID-19 report.
Support Fitzpatrick.
Support by Mr. Fitzpatrick. Mr. Barkey.
Barkey, yes.
Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Fitzpatrick, yes.
Mr. Walsh.
Walsh, yes.
Mr. Zanetti.
Zanetti, yes.
Mr. Hiller.
Hiller, yes.
Green, yes, the motion carries. Do we have to do the, is that it?
Yep, that's it. And then we will, that form that you have there, we will fill out with our two-way interactions on it and then submit it to the ISD.
There's no action on the two-way?
No, it's just part of that report.
Thank you. Next item 11B is a policy reading. This is the second reading of 2266 Title IX and 0100 definitions, voting. Like it's second reading, so this will require board action. Ms. Steno?
Yes, these are the policies that we went over last time. The sexual harassment policy is due to a new law, and we are working with the Troon Law Firm to train all of our staff. They will be taking a training on November 3rd, in addition to the extensive training that our administrative team got. So this policy goes along with that. And then the voting section is that allows a member to call in and vote as long as there is a quorum physically present.
Motion to accept both policies as presented. This is Zanetti.
Motion by Zanetti,
Support by Hiller.
support by Hiller. Are there any other questions on that?
Yes, one question on the new Title IX policy, Stacy. So is that all staff from anybody that's in the district has to go through this training? Is that correct?
Correct. It's about 45 minutes. And we have our law firm has.
To a bus driver, to an MTT, everybody, right?
Yep. Yes.
And then it's the training is it you said it's virtual?
Yes, it's a video that the attorneys made for us, and it's like a Zoom call that they videotaped with their PowerPoint, and so they can watch it at whenever they want.
So then, as you hire new people throughout the year, then that video is part of their kind of employment starting in orientation, I guess, right?
Correct.
Great. Okay, thank you for clarifying.
That was a motion by Zanetti, a support by Hiller. Mr. Zanetti.
Zanetti, yes.
Mr. Hiller.
Hiller, yes.
Ms. Walsh.
Walsh, yes.
Markey.
Markey, yes.
Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Fitzpatrick, yes.
Mr. Green, yes. Motion carries. Change order bid pack 12 enterprise roof. Mr. Castle.
It's been a while since we got to do a change order, and these are our favorite kinds. They have brackets around them, and it's money coming back to us. When we did the Enterprise High School roof, we had built in an allowance into that contract for, that roof hadn't been torn off in so long. We didn't know what we were going to find underneath there. If there was going to be metal decking that needed to be replaced, if there was going to be storm roof sumps that needed to be replaced or cracked or whatnot. So usually we do those projects, we built in an allowance so that we have a fixed dollar amount like for a roof sump, so that we're not negotiating in the field for those types of items. So with the project being done now, of the $35,000 allowance, only $14,068.70 of that was used in total. So the remaining $20,931.30 is coming back to us and will be deducted from their contract, and that's what this change order is for.
This is Fitzpatrick. Motion to accept the change order bid pack 12 to the enterprise roof.
Motion by
Walsh supports.
support by Ms. Walsh. Any questions? Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Fitzpatrick, yes.
Ms. Walsh.
Walsh, yes.
Zanetti.
Zanetti, yes.
Markey.
Markey, yes.
Mr. Hiller.
Hiller, yes.
Green, yes. Motion carries. Next item 11D is the resolution of the Open Meetings Act. This will allow us to continue to vote till December, correct, Ms. Steno?
Correct. The Open Meetings Act was recently amended to grant greater latitude with respect to electronic participation, similar to what we had with the original executive orders. So this just carries that through December 31st of this year.
Motion by Hiller to approve.
Support by
Motion.
Fitzpatrick.
Motion by Hiller, support by Mr. Fitzpatrick. Any questions on that? Mr. Hiller.
Hiller, yes.
Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Fitzpatrick, yes.
Ms. Walsh.
Walsh, yes.
Zanetti.
Zanetti, yes.
Markey.
Markey, yes.
Green, yes. The motion carries. Item 12, personnel items. Leaves, Ms. Steno.
Yes, there's one leave in your packet for an family medical leave for the MTT.
Mrs. Fitzpatrick, motion to accept the leave as presented.
Motion by Fitzpatrick,
Support by Zanetti.
support by Mr. Zanetti. Any questions? Mr. Fitzpatrick,
Fitzpatrick, yes.
Mr. Zanetti,
Zanetti, yes.
Ms. Walsh,
Walsh, yes.
Barkey,
Barkey, yes.
Mr. Hiller.
Hiller, yes.
Green, yes, the motion carries. Item 12B, new hires. There are two. Ms. Denham.
Yes, we have two new hires for your approval this evening. One is Zachary Sykes, a custodian for Briarwood and Enterprise, and the second is Jacqueline Terry, a clerk at Westwood Elementary.
Fitzpatrick, motion to accept the new hires as presented.
Barkey, support.
Motion by Fitzpatrick, support by Mr. Barkey. Mr. Fitzpatrick,
Fitzpatrick, yes.
Mr. Barkey,
Barkey, yes.
Ms. Walsh,
Walsh, yes.
Mr. Zanetti,
Zanetti, yes.
Mr. Hiller.
Hiller, yes.
Green, yes, the motion carries. Item 12C, there is one termination. Ms. Denham.
Yes, you have the details in your packet for one termination we are recommending this evening for a staff member who did not meet a satisfactory probationary period.
So moved by Zanetti.
Motion by Zanetti,
Support by Fitzpatrick.
support by Mr. Fitzpatrick. Mr. Zanetti,
Zanetti, yes.
Mr. Fitzpatrick,
Fitzpatrick, yes.
Ms. Walsh,
Walsh, yes.
Mr. Barkey,
Barkey, yes.
Mr. Hiller.
Hiller, yes.
Green, yes, the motion carries. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
I would like to make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
Motion by,
Pardon.
no, I know, I just,
I'm just sorry.
I know, I just don't see you on my list. for
I'm
some reason.
razzing you.
No, that's fine. Motion by Barkey, support by
Hiller.
Hiller. I'm falling apart at the end, guys. Mr. Barkey,
Stick along.
Barkey, yes.
Mr. Hiller,
Hiller, yes.
Ms. Walsh,
Walsh, yes.
Natty,
Zanetti, yes.
Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Fitzpatrick, yes.
Green, yes, I almost pulled it off. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Take care.
Get well.